I want to talk now about a man, a myth, a legend, a force of nature, someone who just seems to be a tornado, who shows up, causes chaos, and then disappears for a while until he shows up again and does the same. I'm speaking about Mr. Norman Finkelstein, a dynamic person, someone who I would call the archetypical grumpy old man, except also someone who's right a lot of the time. Because Norman Finkelstein is someone who has produced a lot of awesome stuff, and then who also just has done a lot of not so awesome stuff, but that you sort of have to begrudgingly still just look at and be like, yep, that's the sort of thing that he would do. I'm not surprised by that at all. So the quintessential Norman Finkelstein moment, where you know he's obviously right, and he's based and epic and all of the other words the kids use now and that they used 20 years ago. You can also sort of get the vibe of who he is from the clip. So he was confronted by this woman, and he totally owned her in the marketplace of ideas. I'm sure you've all seen this clip, but if you haven't, I'm about to show you the #1 top Norman Finkelstein moment.
That is extremely offensive when certain people are German.
What she was saying was offensive was him saying the Holocaust was comparable to Israel or whatever.
I don't respect.
That's such a funny thing to say. That's extremely offensive when certain people are German. Motherfucker, do you think you were a victim of the Holocaust as a German? What are you saying?
That anymore. I don't like and I don't respect the Crocodile Tears. To the Crocodile Tears. No. I'm so.
She's literally crying. What is wrong with Germany? What is this? The cult of guilt they have over there that just leads them to fanatically support Israel. They turn the Holocaust into a religion. New video coming out. By the time you see this clip, it's already out, but new video coming out on the main channel. Check it out. What the fuck?
Allow me to finish. My late father was in Auschwitz. My late mother, please shut up.
You can, he's right, and he's base, but, if you're screaming at college kids to shut up, honestly, he's like me. He's just like me.
Every single member of my family on both sides was exterminated. And it's precisely and exactly because of the lessons my parents taught me and my 2 siblings that I will not be silent when Israel commits its crimes against the Palestinians. If you had any heart in you, you would be crying for the Palestinians, not for what's inside.
The poor German girl. And then there was a revelation after this. I mean, I'm calling her a German girl, so I already gave it up, right? But people assume that this girl was Jewish, actually. And then later, he gave an interview where he came out and said that she was German, which was an insane thing for me to find out, because I didn't really get it. I assumed she was a Zionist Jewish girl. But no, she was a German.
That particular video, there's a certain amount of, a certain misunderstanding about it. First of all, the young woman was not Jewish. Many people think I was lashing out at this young Jewish woman. No, she was German.
Unbelievable. Absolutely fucking unbelievable. The goal. So that's my #1 personal Norman Finkelstein moment, where you get a sense of who he really is and why he's so awesome. The unwoke, sort of conservative grandpa. I think people think he's a leftist just because he's pro-Palestine. I don't think he really has broader politics aside from Israel-Palestine. It's difficult to really tell. He's like an angry grandpa who's extremely passionate about that one issue and right about it in many ways, also wrong about it in some ways that I'll be going over as well. And then he also does other things that are kept not really well known, but when you look at them, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So key context here is that I think if what has happened to Norman Finkelstein has happened to anyone, they would also be absurdly bitter. So I can understand it a whole lot more for him than I can for many other people. Norman Finkelstein had his academic career ruined by the Israel lobby, basically. He had his tenure denied, he's been fired from jobs, he's been totally ostracized from academia in the West. He had to go and work in Turkey because he couldn't find a job in a Western country. So it's not super surprising that with what happened to him, he would end up being very bitter and angry at the world and everything. Normal, I would say. Even justified. So Norman Finkelstein is such an angry old man that he filed a lawsuit in 2017 accusing his neighbors of defamation. Here is court documents from their response to his lawsuit against them. His neighbors, who were apparently a Hispanic couple, attach letters that Norman Finkelstein gave them, in which he complains about noise that they have been causing in their apartment building. Many letters, in fact, where he was like trying to get them to move out. And I have to say, this is exactly what I imagined it would be like living near Norman Finkelstein. Okay, that's a lie. I never imagined what it would be like living as Norman Finkelstein's neighbor. But now that I do think about it, this is what I imagine that it would be like. So Norman Finkelstein reported his neighbors to CPS, apparently, or at least they seem to think that he's the one who reported them to CPS, in 2015. Then in 2016, Norman Finkelstein started like dropping letters under that door saying, if you stomp and bang on your bedroom floor in the morning between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m., I will bang on your door and on my bedroom ceiling between 3:30 and 5 a.m. the next morning. If I don't sleep, you don't sleep. If you can't control yourself, you can rent the gorilla cage in the Bronx Zoo. I will happily supply fresh bananas. And then he gave them another letter. Starting at 3:30 a.m., you will not be sleeping tonight. Another letter. Too bad, apes. You're not sleeping tonight. Then he put another letter on their door. You are on notice. He's like basically saying he called the cops on them, blah, 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 and alleging they threatened his life and accused them of being involved in Medicare fraud and impersonating a doctor. Now, there's another letter here. You committed the biggest mistake of your life yesterday. I had 2 guests in my apartment, one of them a professor of criminology. They listened to the noise for 4 hours. At midnight, we all went together to the police precinct, where we all spoke to several police officers. The police are now fully informed of the situation. I also contacted Child Protective Services again, so I guess it was him in the first time. And then he said, on Tuesday, August 18th, I will contact Immigration and Naturalization Services. I will inform them of Dr. Carol Jovellanos' former job at the fake medical office next door run by the Russian mafiosi fake doctor. I know what was really going on there. Faking a medical establishment in New York is a criminal offense and grounds for immediate deportation. Blah, blah. You get the gist here. Basically, Norman Finkelstein appears to be so bored that he started a dispute with his neighbors where he threatened to get them deported, apparently over noise at night, but I don't know if that ever actually happened. And then he filed here a lawsuit against his neighbors, a defamation lawsuit for I don't even know what. And because he filed that lawsuit, that's the only reason that we actually know about it, by the way, because of these documents that were publicly filed as a result of that. The lawsuit was obviously thrown out. But I don't even know why, what the grounds for that could be, but this is precisely, you would assume that Norman Finkelstein is, given the justified aggression that he displays against his evil political enemies. There's so many letters here, it's crazy. He was threatening them, telling them to move out. Just over and over, he made the same threat over and over. The letters never end. They never end. Go on for years and years. But I mean, look, Norman Finkelstein gets to threaten to deport his neighbors as a treat. Because he's Norman Finkelstein. I don't care. I don't care. You can do it as a treat. He was born too late to learn how to use the internet to have these sorts of disputes, rather than doing them in real life. From what I know, Norman Finkelstein's social media accounts are run by 20-year-olds who he hired to run them for him. He just sends them things that he wrote and they post them. Norman Finkelstein gets to contact immigration services on one family as a treat. Okay? It's fine. Now, there's also another based Norman Finkelstein moment. Norman Finkelstein was invited to have illicit dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. His response to this invitation was precisely what you would expect from Norman Finkelstein. The thing about Norman Finkelstein is he's authentic, right? You know this is exactly who he is. You can surmise that this is who he is just from the way that he conducts himself in public. He's the exact same person in public that he is in private. His response to being invited to the island was he attached a testimony of one of Alan Dershowitz's victims about how Dershowitz was there while she was being forced to give oral sex to Epstein. And Finkelstein wrote, "My guess is if Epstein put your daughter at age 15 in such a position, you wouldn't publicly describe him as a friend and a person of integrity. In fact, I would hope that you'd promptly throttle both Epstein and Dershowitz." That is Finkelstein showing us that you don't have to be Epstein's friend. You can just say no. In the most Finkelstein way possible, obviously. Finkelstein also wrote a book where he really connects, like, the way that he got cancelled to, like, conservative ideas of what cancel culture is, right? This one right here. I'll burn that bridge when I get to it. He's very much like bitter old man. Those damn they-thems on campus are suppressing free speech. But I think he kind of fails to connect the actual facts as to what cancel culture is, which is you're actually cancelled for Israel. And the campus they-thems, God bless them. God bless them for making it so that right-wingers aren't allowed to speak on campus. God bless them for making it so Zionists aren't allowed to speak on campus. That is the way. What happened to Finkelstein, I feel like it negatively polarized him into, like, connecting it to that sort of thing when it's totally different. What happened to Finkelstein is, like, institutionalized Zionist power being used against him to force him out of his job and to be, like, blacklisted from academia entirely. That's not even remotely on the same level. Cancel culture does exist, but it's not being caused by, like, random students yelling at you on campus. It's being caused by, like, the fucking ADL, by people like Alan Dershowitz and Jeffrey Epstein, you know? But I can understand why a bitter old man might connect those two things just after what he's been through. It's in character, it's on brand. I forgive him for it because he's Norman Finkelstein. And, you're allowed to like forgive people for doing bad things if you like them. That's how the world works, right? That's how people operate. So I'm doing it here. I'm applying the standards that everyone else does to him. He was also, like, a huge fan of Noam Chomsky to the point that he recently released a statement saying that he thinks that the Chomsky emails with Epstein are fake. It's an L, but he also applies the same standard that I do, obviously. He likes Chomsky, thus he's going to defend him no matter what. Everyone does that. Like, all of you people watching this, you do that. Most of you are fucking obsessive fans of some person or another. It's very weird as well. Like, my advice to you people is just not to get emotionally attached to any of these people. Who gives a fucking shit about them? You don't know them. Don't treat them like fucking your favorite K-pop band, please. You all do that. It's so annoying. The reason why Norman Finkelstein is good is because of the things that he produces. That he also produces and does bad things doesn't change that equation, really, because what's useful to me is that his work stands up on its own. It would regardless of who wrote it. And I think it matters to people way too much who wrote what. The only time when it does matter is, like, if that provides you with some broader context as to what the meaning of that might be. Which in the case of Norman Finkelstein, I don't really think it does at all. He was also, like, anti-BDS for a long time. I don't think he is anymore. To the point that, like, the actual BDS organization was very bad at him. Was very mad at him, rather, and they like denounced him formally. So they posted this article on the official BDS website back in 2012. Finkelstein said, "They don't want Israel. They think they're being very clever. They call it their free tiers. We want the end of the occupation. We want the right of return. We want equal rights for Arabs in Israel." And they think they're very clever because they know the result of implementing all three is what? What's the result? I know what's the result. There's no Israel. What's bad about that exactly, Mr. Finkelstein? We want there to be no Israel. How dare you? Anyway, I forgot about that already because he made fun of the German girl once and it was funny and I don't really care about anything else. So Finkelstein's explicit basis for being against BDS is that it would mean the end of Israel. And he supported a two-state solution. Huge L. Huge L. Oof, that one's a bad one. He's way too obsessed with international law. Like, if there's one thing about Finkelstein that is a legitimate criticism of his actual work, which is what matters, it's that he's way too obsessed with international law. Now, you can make great arguments against Israel on the basis of international law, and there is some merit to that because Israel supporters are obsessed with like liberal international law and liberal norms and stuff, and demonstrating that Israel is bad, even under their own standards, that's at least a decent framing. But I think Norman Finkelstein doesn't just do that. I think he's actually like a true believer in the idea that international law is like an ideal to strive for, which it's not. It's not. I think Finkelstein has kind of come around now, because more recently Finkelstein has been saying that like, the two-state solution is dead and such. But, he was extremely wrong on that for a very long time, though. That doesn't mean that his work doesn't stand up on its own in most cases, though. And he also gave us this fantastic compilation of him just refusing to take destiny seriously at all.
Your name, please?
Stephen Bonnell.
Okay. Mr. Bonnell, I'm a lot more literate than you, Mr. Borelli.
That's not controversial.
Mr. Bonnell.
Literally,
Mr.
you
Borelli,
can
Mr.
Google
Borelli,
it.
with all
Mr.
due
Finkelstein.
respect, the problem, Mr. Morelli, is you don't know the English language.
Multiple
No due
commanders
respect
until all these
Mr.
people
Bonnell,
signed.
to see the misrepresentations that Mr. Bonnell, Mr.
Let me
Borelli,
read it. Let me
Mr.
quote.
Borelli,
Okay.
Let him read.
You're dead wrong.
Mr. Borelli, please don't teach
What the fuck was that sound?
me about the English language.
Did you read the case?
Uh,
It is
Mr.
a highly
Borelli,
special intent.
I'm
to be
gonna
convicted
ask you
of
again.
genocide. Yes.
Please stop displaying your imbecility.
Okay, I'm
Do
sorry
not-
if you think the
don't-
Declaration of the
don't
Judge is
put
imbecile.
Don't put on public display that you're a moron.
Display on camera if you're
Borelli,
putting yours in
Mr.
books.
Borelli,
Okay?
I read the case around 4 times.
They just don't show genocidal
Mr.
intent.
Borelli,
I don't think so
yourself.
either.
The Israeli Minister of
Mr.
Finance on the 8th of October war.
No.
What you do know how to pronounce.
This is exactly how you should deal with these people. You don't take them seriously at all because they're not serious. They're just fucking morons. Just treat them like moronic idiots. Just do this.
My name.
And again, this is exactly what you would expect from Norman Finkelstein. You cannot say that he's hiding anything. You know exactly who this man is. Everything that he does is the most transparent thing in the world. He's the most authentic person to ever have existed. Like, every single lifestyle influencer who's like, live your true authentic self, drink the kale, eat the lettuce, whatever those lifestyle influencers do now, manage your chakras, they should abandon all of that philosophy and adopt Norman Finkelsteinism because he's more authentic than any of them could ever be.
He made you into an Italian all the time.
It may be meaningless to you, Mr.
It was
Bonnell.
meaningless to everyone in
Okay,
the region.
Mr. Bonnell.
Who
that
only caused
is-
this trip before 67?
Mr. Bonnell, don't change the subject.
The actual
Destiny
alternative.
should
yes,
talk
you're-
about
yeah,
making
you're a
money
media-
off
yeah, you're a
of
media
idiocy.
police
Listen to this.
The only option is
Mr. Bonnell
combat.
is now an expert on Palestinian mentality.
Where it was a good
We
faith
have a
effort.
written
With
record.
all due
We
respect,
have a written
Mr.
record,
Pop
Mr.
Historian,
Burrell.
you can't even read the written records. I don't know why you're referring to it,
Excuse
okay?
me? I just said there are 15,000 pages on Annapolis.
And I'm sure you cherry-picked your favorite quotes
I
from
don't
all of
cherry
them,
pick.
okay?
At
That's great.
least,
That's
Mr.
great.
Burrell, at
Yeah.
least I had a quote to cherry
That's
pick.
great.
All you
Twinklestein,
have
and
is
I can,
Wikipedia.
I gave you quotes.
you
I
have
can
is
give you quotes. Do you want
Wikipedia.
quotes? They asked for all of Israel in 67.
Okay,
What do you
Mr.
think those
Burnell,
quotes were about?
you talk
You're not going to
so-
respond
you
to
talk
anything
so-
I'm saying because you have no
I'll
answer.
respond to you.
That's correct.
Okay,
yeah.
Mr. Bonnell.
If you're a historian,
He did call him by his actual name far too much, though. I'm kind of disappointed about that. But that's how you deal with those fuckers. That's a great example. So Norman Finkelstein is a dynamic character. He's wrong about some things. But I mean, ultimately what really matters is that, one, when he does talk about things that matter in detail, he's very good at it and provides extremely useful resources to everyone else. And two, when he's on the right side of an issue, he's very funny. That's the most important thing. He's very funny. And he's on the right side of the issue way more than he isn't. When he is, it's mostly just ignored. Who gives a fuck about what this 80-year-old, 180-year-old man thinks about, campus they-thems suppressing Ben Shapiro's free speech? I don't fucking care about that, man. I stopped caring about that, in 2015. Get with the times. There's more important things going on these days, okay? Like literal genocide. I don't give a shit about the grumpy old man who tried to get his neighbors deported and who, wrote a book that few people ever read about how the pink-haired campus students are annoying. I don't fucking care. Those things are so comparatively unimportant now. People are just obsessed way too much with discounting and canceling people. I don't like the word canceling, but in this case, it's kind of what they mean. Like, someone is like a cunt in their personal life to their neighbors in exactly the way that you would expect from how they conduct themselves in their professional life, by the way. And your response to that is basically, we should excommunicate him and ignore all of his work. I think people are just way too focused on personalities in general. I don't give a single fuck. As long as he's not like raping kids or committing heinous crimes, I don't give a fuck. The thing that matters is that the books themselves are good. If you wiped off the context of who wrote them, ask would they still be good? And they would be. So why does it matter who he is and if he tried to get his neighbors deported that much? I think a lot of people just disagree with what people have to say, and they're desperately trying to find reasons to like throw them out because they can't deal with what they're saying. So they try and look for these personal things. It's like what people do with me. It's like, I'm too fucking stupid to refute Bad Empanada's actual work. So I'm just going to say that he's like a wanted international criminal instead. That's what they do. Or like, I'm going to get angry that he said that Hassan Piker is a moron and he refuted Hassan Piker. Rather than like responding to what he actually said about the issues and what they disagree on, I'm just going to get angry about the fact that like, oh, he's a mean drama man or whatever. It's the same sort of thing. Where it is relevant is like, in the Chomsky case, right? Like, we ask questions like, why was Chomsky propped up in the media for so long? Why was Chomsky so unwilling to prescribe anything aside from basically liberalism, like the two-state solution, which Finkelstein is also guilty of for a long time, by the way. And also, like, vote blue no matter who in the case of Chomsky. Well, in the case of Chomsky, pretty clearly, with the Epstein revelations, it's clear that he had closer relationship to power than we knew previously. So that's something relevant that you can bring up, because I would say it affected his writing in some respect. Not that you should just discount Chomsky's writing entirely anyway, though, but it's a useful mode of analysis so that we can like think about this for the future as well and ask questions like, this guy who's supposedly on the left is being like profiled in the New York Times and Vanity Fair and shit all the time. Cough, cough, Hassan Piker. Maybe this is another Chomsky type situation. And in regards to Finkelstein, as I said, like, why is he so bad when it comes to like the two-state solution and stuff? Well, I think it comes from him being obsessed with international law to a fault. So that's like the situation where analyzing those sorts of things is actually worthwhile, because it can sort of shine a light on broader issues of like how these people came to these conclusions, and also serve as sort of a warning to us to think about these things in the future when other people have these same sorts of positions. But that doesn't mean that, like, for example, his book on like Gaza, like an inquest into its martyrdom, it's called, is bad, right? Or his other books are bad just because like the Holocaust industry is bad. No, because those works stand up on their own. Like, a lot of people get angry at me because I don't idolize like communist pseudo-historians like Grover Furr, for example. And I think a lot of like liberals and even conservatives are better. Like, Stephen Kotkin is a much better historian than Grover Furr ever will be. And he's like a fucking right-winger. He's like a neocon. Why? Because in his history, he's far more honest than a lot of other people. Even if his bias does come into it a lot, he's very honest when he's dealing with the facts. He's relatively good, though obviously you can never be truly unbiased. He's a lot better at trying to be objective than most other people are. So I value his work way more than I will at people like fucking Grover Furr, who cannot do that at all and who just do the most ridiculous, uncritical defenses of everyone and everything who he likes ever. Okay? Norman Finkelstein is in that camp. His political beliefs don't really cloud his academic, historical work enough for me to discount it, which is not the case for many other people. And it's why I think you should care more about the quality of someone's work than their broader beliefs, or even their beliefs in general if the work is still good.